Guys, welcome back. It's Racer X, and today I want to talk a little bit about our 2019 Shaker Scat Pack. And I think one of the major questions in a lot of people's minds is, hey, does the Shaker really do anything? It looks cool, right? I mean, you've got this cool hole in the hood, as you can see behind me. You've got that Shaker sitting down there. The air intake system is a little bit different, but one of the cool features, obviously, is when you stab the gas, you can see that thing moving. It is old school, it's retro, it's neat. But you know what? Does it really do anything? Does it make any more power? Well, one of the cool things about this this particular car is that it has a couple of different intakes. I want to show you some of the differences between this car and a normal Scat Pack. And also the big thing is it really worth getting the Shaker? Is it just a look thing, or is there some performance that you can gain out of this package? Also, guys, if you are new to the channel, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down there on the bottom, and we're off. We got the 1,000 horsepower helmet. So a quick couple items of note. So as we know, typically the more air that gets into the motor, the more power the motor is going to make. Certainly any sort of restriction can hurt the motor in terms of just making power and being consistent. So as you can see, this particular car here has that conical air filter, and there's something to be said for that. There's kind of two schools of thought on the air filters, right? You've got the closed box, kind of like the Hellcat. Sometimes that's better because it keeps the heat out, you know, from that's generated from the motor, and it kind of sucks in cool air from outside. And some people think that this filter is better because it just simply breathes better, and just the way that it captures air is better. What is unique about the Scat Pack is that it has two intakes, and I want to show that to you. Okay, so here is the unique thing about the 392 and also just the RT Shaker system. As you can see, it does have the normal conical filter here, and then of course it's got the Shaker, which is functional. So actually you've got kind of a plate that sits in here, the air comes down through, and then of course it funnels right through here and right in through here. So you've got air coming in from two different spots. You've got air coming in from here, and then in the front here you can see there's a hole there as well, but you've got the air coming in from the front. So it's got both sides that it's sucking the air in through. And so really, does this make a difference over the normal Scat Pack? And that's what we want to find out today. So guys, this is a little bit of a difficult test, and let me tell you why. It's a little bit hard to measure the CFM of kind of what these filters actually can flow. I don't have a tool that does that. So really, when you talk about just simply air flow, it's kind of hard to measure. I think you're simply limited by the media filter that's in these filters, whether it be on the normal Scat Pack or the conical filter like you see here on the Shaker system. But what we can measure is air intake temperatures. Typically, the warmer the air intake temperature, the more power it's going to pull kind of out of the car. You always want the coldest air intake temperature if your car is going to perform, certainly at the track, but just in general, if you want the car to make more power, typically the lower the air intake temperatures, the better off you are. So this particular car and all the Scat Packs, they have a gauge that actually measures air intake temperatures. So the whole thing is, can we take this car, can we run it around a little bit and kind of put it through its paces and maybe let it sit in idle? And I want to compare that to another 392 car, another Scat Pack. So we're actually on the way to visit my buddy Al, who lives right up the street. He's got a beautiful F8 green Scat Pack, brand new. It's a 2019, just like this one, and we are going to compare apples to apples. We're going to look at the air intake temperatures and see if the Shaker does in fact cool more efficiently than the normal Scat Pack. So real quick, I just want to show you kind of how to get to the gauge that I'm actually going to be looking at, and kind of how we're going to make this determination. So really, when you go to your drive mode setting here in the Scat Pack, you can see that you do get your dynamic drive modes that pop up here. And really what you want to do is you want to go into your performance pages, which is right at the top here. Hopefully you guys can see that. It's going to take just a second to pull up. And as you can see, I've already got it kind of pulled up, but if you go to your gauges, there's a bunch of different options here, but certainly go to your gauges, and that number right there on the right is what we're going to be looking at. That's your air intake temperatures, and that's kind of the important metric in this whole experiment. So for those of you that don't know, I actually live in Fort Worth, Texas, kind of near Dallas, and it gets really hot here. So today it is August. Actually, it is not hot as it could be. It's 95 degrees. It's been a lot hotter here But you know what? That's still really hot, 95 degrees. These cars do not like the heat. So just keep that in mind as we're making these tests. The idea is to get the temperature back down to the ambient temperature, as close to ambient as you can. And how quickly does that actually happen in these two cars? Does the shaker actually get it cooled down faster with those two intakes versus the single intake? Okay, all right guys, check it out. I have met up with my buddy Al, and check it out. He's got a really neat little car behind us, and he's got a wide body green Challenger Scat Pack, and I wanted to show that car to you, but buddy, I'm telling you right now, I'm looking at your car and it's beautiful. It's beautiful. He's only owned it for a couple of months, and man, what a road presence. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what you've done to the car?
Pretty much all that's been done to the car right now is, as you can see, the hood. I have that wrapped, and that was at a little custom place right off of Frank Kent Cadillac.
Okay.
Also, I added a badge up here, as you can see, this SRT badge. With your classic B.
All right.
And also, I added these little decals right here.
So there's a couple other decals he's added here, guys. So he's done a few things aesthetically to this. And why don't you, of course, I want to talk a little bit about the wheels in a second, but show us what you've got on the back of the car real quick.
Oh, okay. All right, so I got some louvers right here.
Okay.
These are the steel type or aluminum. They're pretty much 3M, but then it's bolt on here.
Okay.
At the ends here.
All right, so he's got the steel louvers on the back of this car, guys. Really sharp look to it. He's added those recently. And guys, they just kind of give it a really mean look, and of course the black accents look really nice. And of course, you've done a little bit of exhaust work as well, right?
Yes. Resonator and mid-muffler delete. Pretty much straight pipe.
So he's got it basically straight pipe, guys. It sounds really aggressive. It's robust, and I love that. Can't tell by looking at the back of it, but it does look really nice. And guys, what a sharp looking car. And I can't wait to actually get in this. And one other quick thing I want to mention, obviously this is a wide body car, guys. So he has got, obviously, you know, he's got the 305s on the back of this thing versus my little 245s on the back of the Shaker Scat Pack. These two cars actually sticker right about the same price, but with the wide body, of course, you get the fender flares, and of course you get the 305 tires and the Pirellis, and of course the other ones are the RSA2s, which are hard as a brick, and of course they are more narrow, but of course you get the Shaker package. So just a difference between the two cars. Cannot wait to review these two. Here is the here's the engine bay of the wide body Scat Pack, and you can see his intake is actually quite a bit different than mine is. You can see it looks a lot like my Hellcat intake does. Pulls in air a little bit of a different way, but by comparison, here is the Shaker, and you can see there, we talked a little bit about this one. It's got the two intakes on it, and it'll be interesting to see how quickly this car gets the temperature down, the IATs down. So we're going to run them through their paces. Hey guys, so I'm actually in Al's wide body Scat Pack. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to let both cars idle for quite some time to see how hot we could get these cars just sitting here idling. They've been idling for a good solid probably 10 minutes. And his IATs right now, just sitting here, no air flowing through the car, are 152 degrees, pretty warm. So I kind of want to see how long it takes for his car to come down in temperature. I also want to run over to the Shaker package and see what the IATs are on that before we get started. The air intake temperature of the Shaker is 140 degrees. It's actually quite a bit cooler. Both cars have literally just been sitting here idling the same amount of time. I have no idea why that would be so much lower. Maybe it has something to do with the Shaker. It's kind of hard to say, but this is significantly lower than in the wide body. So let's go see how these things react. Okay, so Al and I are in his car right now, and we're actually going to see we got the air intake temperature. We're going to see how long it takes to actually get the air intake temperature down to like 105 to 107 degrees. When I was running around in the Shaker earlier today, that's about where the thing would hover, right about 105. So it would be interesting to see just how quickly this thing gets down to temperature after putting some air through. Let's see how long it actually takes us driving around normal to get the intake temperature down. So guys, I'm cruising along at about 50, and it really hasn't been that long. The car's already down to 120 degrees. Well guys, we are cruising along at just normal speeds between 40 and 50 miles an hour, and we have not been able to get the air intake temperature below about 100. I think it registered as low as 107, but we haven't been able to get it any lower than that, and we're just kind of putting steady, smooth air through the car. So I think about 107 to 109 is about as best we can muster. And Al, how long has it been now?
2 minutes.
So it's been almost 3 minutes, right?
Yeah.
So we got almost 3 minutes in. We're right at 109, and we've kind of steadied out at 109 degrees, just steady, smooth, smoothing down the road here. So there we are, 107. That's about as low as we're able to get it right now after about 3 minutes of time. Actually just dropped down to 105. There's 104 right there. Well, that's the one we've been waiting on after, what, about 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes?
4 minutes. Yeah.
So it took us about 4 minutes to get there, but we did get there. So anyway, food for thought. Okay, so Al and I are now in the, we are in the 2019 Scat Pack Shaker, and we are starting out basically at the same temp, a little bit higher actually, about 150, and we're gonna cruise down through here and see how quickly this thing comes down in temperature. So we're at 147, 145, we're about the same speed, guys, about 50 miles an hour, and we'll see how long this car takes to come down in temperature. And we are already down pretty quickly to about 136, and we are falling. So yep, the temperatures are definitely coming down in the shaker as well. We'll see how low they get kind of just cruising around. We're going to take the exact same route that we just took. We're already down to about 122 degrees. So guys, check it out. I'm actually rounding the bend here, the same bend, and believe it or not, Al's car was actually several degrees cooler than the shaker, if you can believe that. Coming through this bend, I think he was at right around 109, so he was about 5 degrees cooler than this. And one thing he did notice is when we turned away from the sun, the temperature came down by several degrees. An interesting observation, but yeah, definitely 5 to 7 degrees actually warmer in the shaker, which I was not expecting. Okay, so we just turned the corner away from the sun. We'll see if it actually makes a difference.
When we got here, this is when
you were at like 104.
Yeah.
And see, now it's at 111. So it did drop a little bit. It did drop a couple of degrees, but actually the temperature right now, for some reason, is warmer than in yours. It's actually about 7 degrees warmer.
Yeah.
That is a crazy observation. I would have thought for sure. So maybe it has something to do with the fact that the engine, you're not breathing in the engine air. So maybe that has something to do with it. But there goes 109. So it's about a 5 degree difference in favor of your car.
That's crazy, man.
That is crazy.
I did not think that for 1 minute. I was thinking this shaker was definitely gonna bring in some cooler air.
That is. Okay guys, so check it out. Al and I just put both cars down through and we got a little bit of data, and it's really, really surprising. So what we found is that his car actually gets cooler than the shaker does with 2 intakes. I couldn't believe that.
That's crazy, man.
I was not expecting that result. And to be honest with you guys, it was about 5 degree difference. Now the Scat Pack probably cooled down a little faster from what we've noticed, but it didn't get as cool as the regular Scat Pack. And that is really, I was just floored by that. But guys, it was a really fun little experiment. I don't know, were you expecting to see that?
It surprised the hell out of me, honestly. When I started seeing, first one when we took off and yours just dropped, I was like, oh, okay, all right, yeah, I already know this is gonna get it. But then once we started hitting up that bend, that same portion where mine dropped off to like, what, about 109 or whatever?
109, and it actually ended up dropping down to about 103 almost.
Yeah.
Once we turned this way, and the Scat Pack never got below about 111, somewhere in there, guys. So, I'm sorry, the Scat Pack Shaker. So guys, there's a big, kind of just a weird result, and I was not expecting it. So, I want to give a huge shout out to Al for being on the channel and letting us review his beautiful wide body Scat Pack, guys. In person, this thing is gorgeous. Guys, so if you do have any questions or comments, make sure you drop those down below. I really appreciate the time today, buddy, and guess what?
No problem, brother.
Next time, Racer X.